My name is Allison, and today on my 31st birthday, I'm sitting alone on my new deck overlooking the Pacific Ocean. For years, I've been invisible in my family, especially on my birthday, while my younger sister received lavish celebrations that took weeks to plan. I accepted this imbalance quietly, convincing myself it didn't matter. But this year, something in me finally broke, then rebuilt stronger. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation, it's success and boundaries they never saw coming. Before I tell you what happened, when my family saw my beach house photos, drop a comment letting me know if you've ever had to set hard boundaries with family. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories of finding your worth. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, I never questioned why my parents treated my sister and me differently. Our middle-class suburban home was comfortable enough with my father, Michael, working as a successful accountant, and my mother, Diana, selling real estate part-time. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect American family, but inside those walls, the difference in how they treated Jessica and me was impossible to ignore. Jessica is 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she somehow became the sun our family orbited around. While I was quiet and responsible, Jessica was loud and demanding. She knew exactly how to capture attention in any room, especially our parents' attention. The pattern was established early. When Jessica wanted dance lessons at age 7, my parents immediately found the money for the most expensive studio in Portland. When I asked about joining a similar program a year earlier, they told me we couldn't afford extracurriculars and suggested I join free clubs at school instead. This wasn't about money, it was about priorities. Jessica needs this creative outlet, my mother would say. She has so much natural talent. I still remember sitting alone in the school library during my debate team practice, knowing my parents were across town watching Jessica's dance recital. They never missed one of her performances, but somehow they always had conflicts when it came to my activities. Work emergencies, scheduling mix-ups, car troubles, there was always a reason they couldn't make it to see me shine. Our bedrooms told the same story. Jessica's room was redecorated every few years with fresh paint, new furniture, and the latest trendy decor. My room kept the same pale blue walls and basic furniture from elementary through high school. When I asked about updating my space in 10th grade, my father looked genuinely confused. But your room is perfectly fine, Allison. Why waste money when nothing's broken? The one person who saw me, truly saw me, was my grandmother, Eleanor, my mother's mother. She lived about an hour away, and I would take the bus to visit her as often as possible. Grandma Eleanor's home became my sanctuary. She never missed my birthdays, always called me her brilliant girl, and actually listened when I talked about my interests. You know Allison, she told me once when I was 15 and crying about another instance of being overlooked. Some people shine so bright that others think they need to dim someone else to be seen. That's not about you, that's about them. Your light is quieter, but just as beautiful. I took those words to heart and decided that if my parents weren't going to invest in me, I would invest in myself. I started working at 16 first at a local bookstore, then adding weekend shifts at a coffee shop. I saved most of what I earned and focused on building skills that would lead to independence. By 25, I had graduated with a computer science degree and secured a job as a software engineer at a respectable tech company in Portland. I had my own apartment, a solid emergency fund, and a growing investment portfolio. From the outside, I appeared successful and put together. Inside, though, I still craved that family connection and recognition I never received growing up. The first truly painful birthday I remember was my 16th. I had dropped hints for weeks about wanting a small party with a few close friends. Nothing extravagant, just pizza cake and maybe a movie. The day arrived, and I came downstairs to find my parents and Jessica huddled around the kitchen table, surrounded by party supply catalogs and sample invitations. My heart leapt. They had remembered after all. Maybe they were planning a surprise. "Oh, Allison," my mother said when she noticed me standing there. "Good you're up. We need your help choosing invitations for Jessica's 13th birthday party next month. We're thinking of renting out that indoor water park for the weekend. What do you think?" They hadn't even remembered it was my birthday that day. When I quietly reminded them, they exchanged guilty looks. "Oh, of course we didn't forget," my father said, though his expression clearly showed otherwise. "We'll grab a cake on the way home from work. but right now we need to get these deposits paid for Jessica's party. That was the first time I truly understood my place in the family hierarchy. But it wouldn't be the last birthday they would forget. By the time I turned 25, I had convinced myself that things would be different. I was an adult now with a career and my own place. Surely my family would recognize me as the successful woman I'd become. I planned a nice dinner reservation at an upscale restaurant downtown and invited my parents and Jessica. They accepted enthusiastically, and for once I felt valued. I spent extra on a new dress and even splurged on professional hairstyling. 2 hours before dinner, my phone rang. "Allison, honey?" My mother's voice sounded apologetic, but not devastated. "We have to cancel tonight. Jessica has an important job interview tomorrow, and she needs help shopping for the perfect outfit. You understand, right? Her future depends on making a good impression." I sat on my bed in my new dress hair perfectly styled and told her I understood completely. Then I went to the restaurant alone, asked for a table for one instead of four, and pretended I wasn't blinking back tears when the waiter asked if I was expecting others to join me. "Just celebrating a personal milestone," I said, forcing a smile. When I turned 26, they forgot entirely. No calls, no texts, no cards. 3 days later, my mother texted, "Sorry we missed your birthday, sweetie. Things have been so busy with your dad's promotion. We'll make it up to you soon." They never did. My 27th birthday brought hurried text messages on the actual day, clearly sent as afterthoughts. No gifts, no celebration, just digital acknowledgments that felt like items checked off a to-do list. "Happy birthday from my father at 9:47 p.m. Have a great day, birthday girl, from my mother at 11:23 p.m., just barely making it before midnight. Oh yeah, happy B-Day, sis," from Jessica 3 days later. For my 28th, there was a small acknowledgement, a card that arrived 2 days late, and a family dinner that somehow turned into a celebration of Jessica's new promotion at work. I sat through 2 hours of my parents gushing about Jessica's accomplishments, while my birthday was mentioned in passing during dessert. "Oh, and happy birthday to Allison too, of course," my father added almost as an afterthought, raising his glass in a toast that felt more obligatory than celebratory. When I turned 29, my parents were on vacation with Jessica in Hawaii during my birthday week. They sent a postcard that arrived a week later. "Wish you could join us." "Maybe next time. Happy belated birthday." There was never an invitation for next time. For my 30th, a milestone birthday, they did throw me a surprise party. But it wasn't hard to figure out it had been hastily arranged after I mentioned my birthday was coming up during a family dinner the week before. The decorations were generic. The cake had my name misspelled as Allison, and the gifts were clearly last-minute purchases, a generic gift card, a scarf in a color I never wear, and a self-help book about career advancement that still had the clearance sticker partially peeled off. Each forgotten or minimized birthday cut deeper than the last. I started to dread my birthday approaching, knowing it would be another reminder of where I stood in my family's priorities. After the 30th birthday disaster, I finally started seeing a therapist. Dr. Marshall helped me recognize the pattern of favoritism and suggested I have an honest conversation with my parents about how their behavior affected me. "They might not even realize what they're doing," she said. "Sometimes parents fall into patterns without seeing the impact." So I tried. I invited my parents to coffee, just the three of us, no Jessica, and carefully explained how I felt overlooked and undervalued, especially around my birthdays. The conversation was awkward and painful. My mother's eyes welled with tears, not of understanding, but of offense. "I can't believe you're keeping score like this," she said. "We've always treated you girls equally. You're just more independent, and Jessica needs more support." My father was more direct. "You're being too sensitive, Allison. We're proud of both our daughters, but Jessica's just going through more life changes right now that require our attention." Jessica had been going through life changes that required their attention for 27 years at that point. I left that coffee shop knowing nothing would change, but at least I had tried. I told myself that this year, my 31st birthday, I would have no expectations. That way I couldn't be disappointed. I was wrong about that too. As my 31st birthday approached, I tried to keep my expectations low. Maybe this year I'd treat myself to a solo weekend trip somewhere I thought. No family drama, no waiting for phone calls that wouldn't come. Then 3 months before my birthday, Jessica announced her engagement to her boyfriend of 8 months. Instantly, my parents shifted into high gear, calling vendors, discussing venues, creating Pinterest boards for Jessica's perfect day. I was happy for my sister, truly. Her fiancé Tyler seemed like a nice guy, if a bit overwhelmed by the whirlwind that was my family's devotion to Jessica. But I couldn't help noticing how my approaching birthday seemed to disappear completely from my family's radar, as they focused exclusively on wedding plans. A week before my birthday, I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they needed a gentle reminder. During Sunday dinner at their house, I casually mentioned my upcoming plans. I was thinking of taking Friday off work since it's my birthday, I said, passing the salad bowl to my father. Might do something special for myself. My mother looked up briefly from her wedding magazine. Oh, that's right, your birthday's coming up. We haven't forgotten, don't worry. My father nodded, though his eyes didn't leave the sports game on his phone. We'll do something pumpkin. Jessica didn't even pretend to be listening, too busy texting wedding ideas to her maid of honor. I left dinner feeling cautiously optimistic. They had acknowledged my birthday was coming. That was a start, right? The day before my birthday, I stopped by my parents' house to drop off a cake recipe my mother had asked for. As I approached the front door, I could hear my mother on the phone in the kitchen, her voice animated and excited. Yes, the venue can definitely do Friday evening. It's perfect timing since most people will be off work already. We want this engagement party to be spectacular. Jessica deserves nothing less than a magical celebration. We're thinking champagne fountain live music, the works. I froze on the porch key halfway to the lock. Friday evening, my birthday. Taking a deep breath, I knocked instead of using my key. My mother opened the door quickly, ending her call. Allison, I didn't expect you. Just dropping off that recipe. I nodded, unable to trust my voice. As I handed her the paper, I managed to ask, So, big plans for Friday night? She beamed, completely missing my tone. Yes, we're throwing Jessica and Tyler an engagement celebration. It's going to be wonderful. We've booked that new event space downtown. You'll be there, of course. Friday is my birthday, I said quietly. Her smile faltered for just a second before recovering. Oh, well, we can definitely acknowledge that during the party, too. It'll be like a double celebration. I mumbled something about needing to get back to work and left quickly, tears blurring my vision as I drove away. The morning of my birthday arrived with no texts, no calls, no acknowledgements. I checked my phone repeatedly, thinking maybe messages were delayed or notifications weren't coming through. Nothing. Around noon, I decided to check social media. The first post on my feed was from my mother, a photo of elaborate party decorations being set up with the caption, "Getting ready for the most magical night celebrating Jessica and Tyler's engagement # blessed mother # perfect couple." Several relatives had commented with excitement about attending the party that evening. Not one mentioned that it was also my birthday. I sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, feeling something inside me finally break. This wasn't oversight or forgetfulness. This was intentional neglect. Year after year, they had shown me exactly where I stood in their lives, and I had kept making excuses for them, kept hoping for change. At 3 p.m., my phone rang my mother's number. I answered, voice carefully neutral. Allison, honey, she said cheerfully. I was wondering if you could come over early tonight to help set up for the party. We need someone tall to hang the banner, and your father's back has been acting up. The engagement party, I said flatly. On my birthday. There was a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. Oh my goodness, that's today. I could have sworn your birthday was next week. The lie was so transparent, it almost made me laugh. We'd just discussed it days ago. No, Mom, it's today. The same day it's been for 31 years. Well, she recovered quickly. This works out perfectly then. You can celebrate your birthday at Jessica's engagement party. We'll have the band play happy birthday and everything. I don't think I'll be attending, I said quietly. What? Don't be ridiculous, Allison. It's your sister's engagement party. Everyone will be there. You can't miss it because of some birthday disappointment. I've made other plans. What plans? Cancel them. This is family. Jessica will be devastated if you're not there. I highly doubted Jessica would even notice my absence, but I didn't say that. I'm sorry, Mom. I won't be attending. Please, wish Jessica and Tyler congratulations from me. Allison Marie. My mother's voice took on the sharp tone she used when she was truly angry. You are 31 years old. Stop acting like a child. This petty jealousy of your sister has gone on long enough. We are your family and you have obligations. I expect to see you tonight. I felt a strange calm settle over me. Goodbye, Mom. Have a nice evening. I hung up as she was still talking and then turned off my phone entirely. I sat in the silence of my apartment, tears streaming down my face. 31 years of seeking approval, of making excuses, of convincing myself that next time would be different. 31 years of being second best in the eyes of the people who should have loved me equally. Enough was enough. After hanging up on my mother, I moved through my apartment in a daze, tears flowing freely. But beneath the hurt, something else was forming determination. My grandmother Eleanor's words from years ago suddenly echoed in my mind. Your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. Grandma Eleanor had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving me not just precious memories, but also her unwavering belief in me. She had been the one person who saw my quiet strength when everyone else was dazzled by Jessica's louder light. As I wiped away tears, my eyes landed on my laptop. Almost without conscious thought, I opened my banking app and stared at the savings account I'd been building for 6 years. Originally, it had started as a small emergency fund, but after landing my software engineering job, I had channeled every bonus, every raise, every tax refund into this account. I worked overtime, took freelance projects on weekends, and lived well below my means. The balance stared back at me, $187, $436.82. I had been saving for someday, a nebulous future time when I might need a down payment for a house. But I had no concrete plans, no timeline. Like everything else in my life, I had put my own dreams on hold, waiting for some external validation that never came. Today was my birthday. Today I decided was someday. I opened a real estate listing site and filtered for properties within a 2-hour drive of Portland. I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking for until I saw a small blue cottage directly on the beach in a quiet coastal town called Manzanita. The listing photos showed a somewhat dated but charming house, with large windows facing directly onto the Pacific Ocean. The description mentioned it needed some updating but had solid bones and a rare beachfront location. The asking price, $495,000. With my savings as a substantial down payment, I could afford this. It would be tight, but I could make it work. And for the first time in years, I felt a rush of excitement. I called the listing agent immediately. I'd like to see the property today if possible, I said, surprised by the firmness in my voice. Today? The agent sounded surprised. It's nearly 4 p.m. It's important, I said. I can be there by 6 p.m. Something in my tone must have convinced her. All right, I'll meet you there. The address is 127 Ocean View Drive. I grabbed my purse, jacket, and keys and headed to my car. As I drove the winding coastal highway, the emotional weight I'd been carrying began to lift. With each mile that took me away from Portland and the engagement party I wasn't attending, my breathing became easier, my thoughts clearer. The sunset was painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks as I pulled up to the blue cottage. The real estate agent, a woman named Stephanie, waited on the small front porch. You made good time, she said with a smile, extending her hand. Happy to show you this little gem. The moment I stepped through the front door, something shifted inside me. The house was indeed dated 1990s appliances, worn carpet, in the bedroom's bathroom fixtures that had seen better days. But the living room opened directly onto a wall of windows facing the ocean, and the sound of waves crashed rhythmically against the shore just yards from the back deck. It needs work, Stephanie said, perhaps mistaking my silence for disappointment. But the location is unbeatable. They don't allow new construction this close to the beach anymore. It's perfect, I whispered. We walked through the 2 bedrooms, the small but functional kitchen, the surprisingly spacious bathroom that needed updating. The more I saw, the more I could envision exactly what this place could become, not just a house, but my sanctuary. The sellers are motivated, Stephanie mentioned as we stood on the back deck watching the last rays of sunlight disappear over the horizon. They've already moved to Arizona for retirement and are carrying 2 mortgages. I turned to her, decision made. I'd like to make an offer. She blinked in surprise. Now, don't you want to think about it? Maybe bring a contractor to look at? I'm sure, I said firmly. I'll offer $470,000 with proof of funds for a substantial down payment. I can close quickly. Back in Stephanie's car, we drafted the offer on her laptop. I called my financial advisor friend Marcus, who picked up despite the evening hour. Allison, everything okay? I'm buying a beach house, I said. I need to know if I'm making a massive mistake. After walking through my finances, the property details, and my income, Marcus was cautiously supportive. It's aggressive but doable. Your job is stable, your credit is excellent, and that's a solid down payment. Property in that area tends to appreciate well. Just make sure you get a thorough inspection. The next few hours were a blur of phone calls, emails, and negotiations. The sellers countered at $485,000. I held firm at $475,000 with a quick close, and they accepted. By midnight, still technically my birthday, I had a signed purchase agreement for my beach house. I drove back to Portland in the early morning hours, exhausted, but feeling more alive than I had in years. For once, I had done something entirely for myself without seeking anyone's approval or validation. As I crawled into bed as the sun was rising, I realized I hadn't checked my phone since turning it off before leaving for the coast. I powered it on to find 17 missed calls, 28 text messages, and multiple voicemails, all from my family, progressively more angry and demanding about my absence from the engagement party. I put the phone on silent, set it aside, and fell into the most peaceful sleep I'd had in years. The next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind of paperwork, inspections, and loan applications. I took a week of vacation time to focus entirely on securing my beach house, working closely with a mortgage broker who specialized in oceanfront properties. The inspection revealed issues that needed addressing: some water damage in the master bathroom electrical, that wasn't up to code; windows that needed resealing against the coastal elements, but nothing structural or catastrophic. I negotiated a $10,000 credit for repairs and pushed forward. Meanwhile, my phone continued to explode with messages from family. I responded minimally, simply telling them I was busy with a personal project and would be unavailable for a while. My mother's texts oscillated between guilt-tripping, "How could you embarrass us like this?" and concern trolling, "We're worried about you, this isn't like you." Jessica sent a single message, "Way to make my engagement about you." Again. I didn't bother pointing out the irony of that statement. 23 days after my birthday, I signed the final paperwork and received the keys to my beach house. I drove straight to Manzanita from the closing, heart pounding, as I unlocked the front door, my front door. The house was empty except for a few pieces the previous owners had left behind: a sturdy oak dining table, a well-worn but comfortable-looking armchair, and a porch swing on the back deck. I walked through each room slowly, already envisioning the transformations I would make. That first weekend, I slept on an air mattress in the master bedroom, lulled to sleep by the sound of waves. Despite the uncomfortable bed and the musty smell that lingered in the house, I felt more at home than I ever had in my apartment in Portland. On Saturday morning, I met my first neighbor, an older woman named Grace, who lived in the blue house to the left of mine. "I've been here 30 years, she told me, offering a basket of homemade muffins as a welcome gift. "Best decision I ever made was buying this little piece of heaven. The community here is something special." Grace introduced me to several other neighbors throughout the weekend, including Tom and David, a retired couple who had renovated several coastal properties and offered invaluable advice about contractors' weatherproofing and the unique challenges of maintaining a beach house. "That deck will need special sealing," Tom advised, examining my back porch with a professional eye. "The salt air eats through regular finishes in no time. I've got a guy who does great work if you need a recommendation." By Sunday evening, I had a notebook full of contractor names, a better understanding of what I was facing with renovations, and a surprising sense of community I hadn't expected to find so quickly. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a new routine. Weekdays in Portland at my job, weekends at the beach house working on renovations. I took another week of vacation time to focus on the biggest projects: replacing the bathroom fixtures, updating the electrical, and refinishing the worn hardwood floors hidden under old carpeting. I learned to use power tools watching YouTube tutorials. I discovered muscles I didn't know I had while tearing out old bathroom tile. I made countless trips to hardware stores, learning terminology and techniques from patient employees. Many projects I tackled myself, painting walls, replacing light fixtures, refinishing cabinets. For the specialized work, I hired local contractors, recommended by my new neighbors. The bathroom was completely gutted and rebuilt with a walk-in shower featuring blue glass tile that reminded me of the ocean. The kitchen received new countertops, a farmhouse sink, and updated appliances. The worn carpet was torn out to reveal hardwood floors that, once refinished, glowed with warm honey tones. Each improvement felt like an investment in myself. Each decision was made solely based on what I wanted, with no one else's opinion to consider. For the first time in my life, I wasn't compromising or accommodating. I was creating exactly the space I wanted. During these weeks of transformation, my family's messages gradually tapered off. There was one text from my mother asking why I hadn't called, but I responded simply that I was busy with a personal project and would be in touch when I could. She didn't press further. By the end of the month, the major renovations were complete. The house had transformed from dated and musty to bright and welcoming. The walls were now painted in soft coastal colors, pale blue in the living room, gentle sand tones in the bedrooms, a hint of sea glass green in the kitchen. Large windows had been properly sealed and now framed the ocean views like living artwork. I furnished the space simply but comfortably. A sectional sofa positioned to maximize ocean viewing. Comfortable beds dressed in crisp white linens, bar stools at the kitchen island, where I could sip morning coffee while watching waves crash on the shore. The back deck was my pride and joy. I had personally sanded, sealed, and stained it following Tom's advice about marine-grade finishes. New Adirondack chairs, a small table, and string lights created the perfect space for evening relaxation. The original porch swing, once cleaned and restored, became my favorite spot for morning reflection. Standing in my completed beach house exactly 1 month after my forgotten birthday, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and peace. This place was entirely mine, a physical manifestation of my independence and self-worth. I had created this sanctuary without seeking anyone's approval or validation. I decided it was time to share it with the world on my own terms. I hired a local photographer who specialized in real estate and interior shots. She captured the house beautifully, the warm interior, the thoughtful renovations, and especially the stunning ocean views from the back deck. The morning light filtering through windows, the careful details like the shell collection displayed on a reclaimed wood shelf, the inviting reading nook in the corner of the living room. As I scrolled through the photos, a caption formed in my mind: simple, direct, and true, birthday present. To myself. Family not invited. With the professional photos in hand, I sat on my new sofa, overlooking the ocean finger, hovering over the share button on my phone. The caption I had written was still there: birthday present to myself, family not invited. I tapped share, and then immediately turned off all notifications. Putting my phone down, I slipped on my sandals and headed out for a long walk on the beach. The tide was low, revealing tide pools filled with starfish anemones and tiny crabs. I breathed in the salt air, feeling lighter with each step. 2 hours later, I returned to my beach house and reluctantly checked my phone. The screen was filled with notifications, comments, likes, messages, missed calls. It seemed my post had definitely been noticed. Friends I hadn't heard from in months were commenting with amazement and congratulations. What? When did you buy a beach house? It's gorgeous. Allison, this is incredible. So proud of you. Self-gift level legendary. Need an invitation to this paradise ASAE. But mixed among the positive reactions were messages from my family. Jessica had texted within minutes of my post. Are you serious right now? A beach house? Is this some kind of joke to overshadow my engagement? Why would you post something like that about family? Mom and Dad are extremely upset. My mother's voicemail came next, her voice wavering between hurt and anger. Allison, I don't understand what's gotten into you lately. First skipping Jessica's engagement party, and now this public statement. What do you mean family not invited? We're your family. Call me back immediately. My father, ever the formal one, had sent an email. Allison, your recent social media post is inappropriate and hurtful. This public airing of family matters shows poor judgment and reflects badly on all of us. Whatever issues you're having, we should discuss them privately, like adults, not broadcast them online. Additionally, making such a large purchase without consulting family financial advisors is concerning and impulsive. Dad. Extended family members had reached out too, some with genuine curiosity, others clearly fishing for gossip, and a few with surprising support. My Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, sent a particularly touching message. Allison, your beach house is beautiful. I've noticed the dynamic in our family for years and never said anything. I should have. I'm proud of you for creating your own happiness. Would love to see your new place sometime, only if invited, of course. Love you, Aunt Linda. I responded first to the supportive messages thanking friends and extended family for their kind words. To my Aunt Linda, I sent a special invitation for a weekend visit soon. For my immediate family, I crafted a simple factual response. Yes, I purchased a beach house with money I've been saving for years. It's my personal space and sanctuary. I'm very happy with my decision. My phone rang almost immediately after sending that text a family conference call. I declined it. Instead, I called each family member individually over the next few days, setting clear boundaries in each conversation. With Jessica, I was direct. This house has nothing to do with your engagement. I bought it because I wanted a place of my own, and I've worked hard to be able to afford it. I'm happy for you and Tyler, but that doesn't mean I need to erase my own life milestones. But the timing, she insisted. And that caption you clearly meant to steal attention from my wedding plans. Jessica, not everything is about you, I said calmly. I've spent a lifetime stepping aside so you could have the spotlight. This one thing is mine. You've always been jealous of me, she shot back. No, I've always been invisible because of you. There's a difference. I ended the call while she was still arguing. My mother tried a different approach, alternating between guilt and dismissal. I just don't understand why you would do something so impulsive, she said. A beach house at your age, and that terrible caption about family not being invited. You've really hurt us, Allison. Mom, I said quietly, do you know what happened a month ago? You mean when you skipped Jessica's engagement party? Yes, we were all very disappointed. It was my birthday, I said. You scheduled Jessica's engagement party on my birthday. Forgot it was my birthday, then got angry when I wouldn't attend. Well, we've been so busy with wedding plans, and you know how important this is for your sister. Every year, I interrupted. Every year you forget or minimize my birthday while throwing elaborate celebrations for Jessica. This house is a gift to myself because I finally realized no one else was going to celebrate me. That's simply not true, she protested, but her voice lacked conviction. We've always treated you girls equally. Mom, we both know that's not true. I've spent 31 years accepting it, making excuses for it, hoping it would change. I'm done with that now. I love my beach house, I love my independence, and I'm setting boundaries around how I allow people to treat me, even family. So what are you saying? You don't want to be part of this family anymore? Her voice cracked. I'm saying I want to be part of a family that sees me, values me, and respects me. The door is open if that's the family you want to be. With my father, the conversation was more straightforward. He'd always responded better to logic than emotion. You should have consulted me before making such a large financial decision, he said. I could have helped you get a better interest rate or possibly advised you to wait for a more favorable market. Dad, I'm a 31-year-old woman with a successful career and excellent credit. I consulted financial professionals. I did my research. I didn't need your permission or approval. It's not about permission, Allison. It's about experience and knowledge. It's about control, I countered, and respect. I respect your financial expertise, but this was my decision to make. And frankly, given how little attention you've paid to my life milestones, I didn't think you'd be interested. That comment landed like a physical blow. He was quiet for a long moment. Is that really how you feel? That we don't pay attention to your accomplishments? When was the last time you celebrated something important to me, Dad? My job promotion 2 years ago. My master's degree completion. Any of my birthdays. Can you even name the company I work for? His silence was answer enough. 3 months passed since my bold social media post. The initial storm of reactions had calmed, and life had settled into a new rhythm that felt surprisingly right. Weekdays in Portland, weekends at my sanctuary by the sea. My beach house had become more than just a property. It was the physical embodiment of my self-worth. Each time I turned the key in the lock, I was reminded of my own strength and resilience. In those months, I developed wonderful friendships in the beach community. Grace from next door invited me to join her book club, which met monthly in different members' homes. Tom and David regularly included me in their Sunday brunches, where I learned more about home maintenance than I ever thought possible. I joined a local beach cleanup group and found satisfaction in protecting the shoreline I now called home. Extended family members who had reached out supportively after my post became more present in my life. Aunt Linda visited for a weekend, and we reconnected in a way we never had before. "Your mother was always the golden child, too," she told me over wine on my deck one evening. "Some patterns repeat if we don't consciously break them." Cousins I hadn't been close with growing up came to visit, relationships deepening without the overshadowing presence of the established family dynamic. My grandmother Eleanor would have been proud of the family connections I was nurturing on my own terms. As for my immediate family, the path to reconciliation was slower and more deliberate. My mother was the first to reach out meaningfully. About 6 weeks after my post, she asked if she could visit the beach house, just her, no one else. "I'd like to see what you've created," she said, her voice lacking its usual certainty. "If that's okay with you." I agreed, setting clear expectations about the visit's duration and establishing that this was my space, not a family vacation home. When she arrived, I watched her take in the cozy, thoughtfully designed rooms, her expression shifting from curiosity to something like respect. "You did all this yourself?" she asked, running her hand along the newly refinished kitchen cabinets. "Most of it. I hired professionals for the electrical and plumbing, but the design, the painting, the decorating, that was all me." We sat on the back deck watching waves crash against the shore, an awkward silence between us until she finally spoke. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since your post," she said slowly. "At first I was just hurt and angry, but then I started looking back, really looking at how we've treated you compared to Jessica." She turned to face me, eyes wet. I don't think I realized. I don't think I wanted to see it. Jessica always needed so much, demanded so much, and you were always so self-sufficient, so I let myself believe you were fine with less attention." "I wasn't," I said simply. "I just learned early that asking for equal treatment wasn't going to happen, so I stopped asking." For the first time in my adult life, I saw my mother really hear me. Not defensively, not dismissively, but truly listening to my experience. "I'm sorry, Allison," she said, tears now flowing freely. "I'm so deeply sorry. You deserved better from us, from me. I don't know if we can fix the past, but I want to do better going forward if you'll let me try." It wasn't an instant healing, but it was a beginning. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking more openly than we ever had painful truths finally acknowledged. My father took longer to come around. His pride made it difficult for him to admit fault, but about 2 months after my post, he showed up unannounced at my beach house with a toolbox and a truck full of supplies. "Your neighbor Tom mentioned your gutters needed replacing before winter storms hit," he said gruffly. "Thought I could help." We spent the weekend working side by side, mostly in silence at first. But gradually, between measuring and cutting and installing, conversations emerged about my job, my life, my dreams. He asked questions about my work that showed he'd been researching my industry to understand what I did. Small steps, but meaningful ones. Jessica remained the most resistant to change. Her wedding planning consumed all family attention, just as every milestone in her life had before. But even she began to show subtle shifts after visiting the beach house with Tyler. "This place is actually really nice," she admitted reluctantly. "Tyler thinks we should invest in property too." "It's a great investment," I agreed deliberately, not rising to the competitive undertone in her voice. "I always thought you were happy being the quiet one," she said later that evening when Tyler had gone to bed and we were alone with a bottle of wine. "I never considered you might feel overlooked." "I think we both played the roles we were assigned very early," I replied. "You were the star, I was the supporting character. But I'm writing my own story now." She nodded slowly, a thoughtful expression replacing her usual confidence. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement, a start. 3 months after my birthday, My family gathered at my beach house for the first time, all of them together at my invitation. I established clear ground rules. This was a day to connect and rebuild, not to discuss wedding plans or other family drama. To my surprise, they respected these boundaries. We grilled on the back deck, played board games when evening fog rolled in, and talked. Really talked about creating healthier family dynamics going forward. It wasn't perfect. Old patterns occasionally emerged quickly, followed by awkward pauses and course corrections. But it was progress. As the sun set on that gathering, I found myself alone on the deck with my thoughts. The journey from invisible daughter to empowered woman had been painful but necessary. My beach house stood as both boundary and bridge, a line drawn to protect my worth, but also a new foundation on which healthier relationships could potentially be built. My most recent birthday had just passed a simple celebration at a restaurant in Portland. My family remembered without prompting gifts, were thoughtful if modest, and the conversation stayed balanced between all of us. It wasn't extravagant, but it was genuine, and that made all the difference. I don't know if my family will ever truly understand the depth of the hurt I carried for so many years. I don't know if the changes we're making now will last forever or fade with time. What I do know is that I found a peace within myself that doesn't depend on their validation. My worth isn't measured by their attention. My happiness isn't contingent on their approval. The quiet confidence I've discovered in creating this sanctuary for myself has transformed me more profoundly than any external validation ever could. As I sit here watching another sunset from my deck, I realize that building this house wasn't an act of revenge. It was an act of self-love. And ironically, by finally prioritizing my own happiness, I created the foundation for potentially healthier relationships with my family. The ocean waves continue their eternal rhythm, reminding me that life moves forward regardless of past hurts. The healing journey isn't linear, but with each tide, I find myself a little more whole, a little more at peace, a little more confident in the woman I've become. Has your family ever overlooked your achievements or forgotten important milestones in your life? How did you handle it? Did you confront them or find your own way to celebrate yourself? Share your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to be reminded of their worth today. Thank you for listening to my journey. May it inspire you to honor your own value with or without anyone else's recognition.